Guys, welcome to Reflections from the Saddle. So today I'm actually going to show you a little bit of liberty work that I'm doing with my 4-year-old. So he can be a little bit pushy on the ground, and he can be a little bit just not real respectful of your space. And I hate to use that word because I feel like that's their interpretation of their behavior. That's not really that they're disrespecting us. But one of the things that I've done with all of my horses is liberty work, and I really think it helps address some of these issues. So I have studied under quite a few people. One, I've done some natural horsemanship type stuff. I've also done some study with Carolyn Resnick's work. And so this is kind of like my own hodgepodge of a bunch of things. This is not one person's technique, but if people are interested in kind of how I learned what I do, I'd be more than happy to share that with you. I am not really teaching in this video. This is just kind of a demo. And I'm just going to explain what I'm doing here. So in this first section, I'm doing what Carolyn Resnick calls leading from behind. So at this point, you'll notice that my horse always wants to kind of turn toward me, and I want him to just kind of keep walking. Now, I'm not chasing him. This is not running them around the field. This is not wearing them out, via that or anything. I try and stay within his eyesight, although I will cross behind him and go to the next eye, which you'll see here. So now I'm directly behind him, and now I'm in, well, that was a little slow, but then I switch over to his other eye. You'll see it better in some, when he turns a little bit quicker. And I want him to just keep walking. So I'm just signaling to him to keep walking. I'll show you later my little reed that I'm carrying. It's just this couple little tiny, like kind of stiff grass is what it looks like. And so it's not anything that will hurt them. It's just an extension of my arm, and it does make a little swooshing sound if I wiggle it in the air. So I really just want him to keep walking, and I'm kind of leading him from his hip. And I want him, at this point, I'm not even directing where he's going. I just want him to keep walking. So I don't want him to turn and face me. I want to just kind of slowly get him to walk out and about. Some horses will kind of stay right up here by the gate. Other horses will sort of meander through the field. And then you'll see here, I'm starting to direct where he goes. So now I'm saying, yeah, now let's start not just making you move, but actually a little bit directing where you move to. And I'm not being pushy about it. I'm just being very calm and quiet, and just having him walk around, and a couple times I'm going to have him just change direction, just kind of move, from one side to the other. Yeah. And it's kind of boring. The whole point of this is whenever a new horse comes into the field, there really shouldn't be a lot of bickering going on. The way that they kind of determine, who's going to be the benevolent leader is by who basically directs them to the best resources. And so usually your lead horse will not necessarily lead from the front, but lead from behind. So this is kind of complicated, and I don't really want to go into the logistics of this, because the best person to explain this, because this is a Carolyn Resnick exercise, is to actually, get in touch with her and her programs and learn her information directly from her. But I just want to explain sort of what I'm doing. And I like the fact that now he's like, okay, I understand the game. Now we're going to just kind of wander around. And what I do is I'm trying to stay, not directly behind him. You can't really see it too well in some of this, but I'm switching when he switches from one eye to the next. So I'm not really standing behind him. I'm basically at his hip on one side or the other, and I'm just slowly getting him to walk around. If I drift behind, that's fine, I just don't want to get up in front of his shoulder because that would be telling him something else. So this is all sort of, this is not our first time working on this. And this is all stuff that we've worked on before, obviously, because he's calm and quiet about it. He's not concerned at all about what's going on. And we'll start to sort of change the dynamic as we go. So part of Carolyn's work is that she does a lot of liberty training based on herd dynamics. And she has, I believe, 12 rituals. This is just one of them. And those 12 that you use, you're going to basically use all 12 of them. But you might use some with some horses and different ones with other horses, meaning there's going to be ones that you're going to use with a horse that's maybe a little bit more bold or a little bit needs to start respecting space, and that's going to be different than the horse that might be shy and need a little bit of connection, need more connection. This horse has a lot of connection, and sometimes he just kind of treats me a little bit like just another horse in the field, and I want him to just have a little bit more what we call respect of my space, so that if I ask him to sort of move his body parts, that it is done quietly and easily. And we've done a lot of natural horsemanship type training. And so you saw there, that was the first time that I actually got him to stop. So where I felt like we were connected enough, and this is how this progresses, that we connect enough that I can actually control not only that he's going and what direction he's going, but now that I can get him to actually stop what he's doing based on my body language. Now, I don't really want him to turn toward me. So you see there, he kind of turned toward me. I didn't signal that. There is a signal that I will give him if I want him to turn toward me, and that was not it. So I don't really get after him, but I wanted to tell him, like, no, keep moving out. This is not what I asked for. And all this subtle work can be very, very boring because it's all body language stuff, and it really doesn't look like you're doing very much, but it can make a big difference in your connection with the horse. So even there where I cut him off, you notice that it's just, he's quietly going around. I'm not chasing him. I'm not making this a big to-do. I'm not getting him stressed about it. And there I ask him to stop again. He didn't really stop quick enough for me. So I'm like, no, let's move on again and we'll try it. And I'll be more abrupt, and he was more abrupt. So then I'm going to go up and tell him that he's a good boy. This horse is very interactive, very personable, really likes to be with people, likes to be fiddled with, likes to be groomed, likes to have likes your attention. But sometimes he can just be a little bit, good thing he's not bigger, because sometimes he can just be a little bit just too much kind of in your face and in your space. So you'll notice I'm going to start kind of standing in the middle, and I'm going to ask him to go around me and then come toward me. So I signaled for him to go around me and then come toward me, and then I signal for him to go the other direction. So this is all like things that we've already worked on. It doesn't go this smoothly always right from the get-go, because the horses don't know what you mean. But we've worked on, and then I ask him again to come toward me. And then I'm asking him to change direction again. And each time that he changes direction, I want him to give me a good space between us. I don't want him to kind of cut off the space between us and make me feel like he's crowding me. And then I ask him to stop again. I'm okay with his face coming in. If he brought his shoulder in that moment, then I would ask his shoulders to move back out away from me. And there, I want him to kind of be like just a little bit more space between us. When I first taught this horse to lunge, that was one of the things, is that he picked up the lunging pretty quickly, but he really always wanted to be a little too close to me. And you need to keep yourself safe in this kind of instance. I'll just make this little caveat. You notice that I'm not in kicking range of him, even when we're kind of working around each other. I've got a good amount of space between us in case he got spooked, or in case he decided to, like, fly, or any reason. I don't know that he would necessarily kick at me. He's not that kind of horse, but and the ground is really hard here, which he's kind of, you can tell in his trot. And so I'm just now asking for the same thing that I was just doing, but now I've upped the ante because now I want the trot work. This horse was not lunged beforehand. I didn't do anything before this work. I just basically pulled him out of the stall, took him out in the field, and started working on a repertoire. I find this kind of work builds confidence, it builds connection, it also helps them understand the dynamic. A lot of times we don't, the only time that we have control of our horses, we have them, with a halter or a bridle on, or some sort of like physical control. And I think this is really good for the horse's development, to realize that we can have this communication and we can have a language between us, and it doesn't have to be based on having some sort of physical control. I literally, if this horse wanted to run away from me, he totally could. If he wanted to be like, oh, I don't want to play these games with you, he totally could. He could just walk away, and I would let him. That's the other thing. If I started this leading from behind and he just ran to the other end of the field and stopped engaging, then that would be it. That would be it for the session, for the day. I might try and go down there and like re-engage him and, say, hey, wait a minute, are you really sure you don't want to do anything today? But I would have to respect the fact that he said totally no. But as you'll see, he was perfectly willing and perfectly happy to kind of play these games with me today. Here, I'm just kind of reiterating this whole, like, when you move away from me, move your shoulder. And I'm doing these small little things now. So it's like, move away from me, move your shoulders, come toward me, ho, back up, move the shoulders away again, or come toward me. Like, we're just doing this little dance. Okay, there he finally moved his shoulders. Did you see how he was moving his neck but not moving his shoulder? And there he moved his shoulder really quickly. So that's kind of why I stayed in that ask of like, hey, no, move your shoulder over. And then released once he finally actually moved the shoulder. And that's a little bit of the history of this horse, is that he can get a little pushy with his shoulders and kind of start directing you around. There's me showing you my little reeds. They're like really thin. They would break probably if I hit anything with them. And I just shake them and use them as an extension of my arm, but actually just shake them to, to just kind of direct the horse with them. And the sound of it can be a little bit, makes them pay attention. So that's it today. That is Romeo and I just doing some groundwork, liberty work together to work on building connection, making sure he understands my cue to give me space, making sure that he can quietly do this work and it doesn't upset him, it doesn't get him anxious, it doesn't get him, fearful. He doesn't feel like he needs to run away, but we can just quietly work on these things together. What you can't see in the video, and which happens over time, is that the horses actually, when you start to speak their language like this, they start to soften. They soften their body. They soften their eye. It's like they're finally feeling heard and they're finally being met in a way that helps them have direction in their life and really understand what it is that we're asking of them. So if you don't have any sort of liberty work incorporated into your training, I suggest you start. It's actually a lot of fun. And on top of being fun, I think it's super valuable, not just on the ground, but then once you get under saddle. I think the nothing can replace the connection that you can build in this way by having your horse be heard, felt, seen, and then also knowing that they're paying attention to you and that you are both heard, felt, and seen, and that the two of you can come together as a partnership to go forward in whatever endeavor that you choose. Okay, I'll see you guys next week. That's all for today.